Welcome to Women's Speakers Association's WSA TV. I'm Laura Rubinstein here today with Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. We're going to be talking about living empowered. And what's really cool is that we have an expert here on what it is to live empowered. So welcome, Dr. Rhoberta.
Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure to be here.
So what I know about you is you're an expert in helping people who want to emerge empowered from toxic relationships and emotional abuse. And you're also has just completed writing the foreword for the forthcoming Voices of the 21st Century, Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose. And we are so thrilled to have you here. I wanted to ask you more about the foreword, and without giving it all away, but still speaking from your expertise, what inspired you to write this and what you wrote in there?
Well, I think the women in there were sharing their journeys, which creates a legacy. And doing something like that, writing the foreword, which I was really honored to be asked to write, is leaving a legacy too, because it's saying, here's what I have to say about introducing these ideas and why they're important. And it's truly important to understand living versus living empowered.
So why is being empowered, and especially through passion and purpose, especially for women, why is this important?
Well, first of all, you have to have a voice, and you won't have a voice unless you know who you are. And when you know who you are, and you know why you breathe and take up space on this planet, then you know what to do every day. So it's really important to go through that journey of discovery and uncovering and clarifying so that you know who you are, what you do, and why you do it, so you can inspire yourself every morning.
I love that. And that makes me think of so many people, thought leaders are like, you have to find your purpose. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on that, Laura. First of all, I think there's a wonderful marketing opportunity people take to try to push people to believe they only have one purpose. Well, you don't have one role in life, therefore you don't have one purpose. Sure, you can say something worthy of a Miss America speech and say, that's my purpose, but it doesn't really define. So if you're talking about why you get up in the morning to do your business, then you need to know what that business is about and why you want to do it. What is the purpose of having that expression of you? If it's just to make money, well, that's not very inspiring, but it may be what you need to do. That's your purpose, and it's time bounded. Therefore, it's a goal. My purpose is to make it for the next 12 months, keep my family intact, and I'll feel successful and I'll choose again. But if we have an overriding purpose, like I know what my purpose is, and it was less than a year ago when I realized that I'm okay if I don't do anything further, because I actually did my mission.
I love that.
And that's what I think this journey of discovery leads you to know. Well, how will you feel? What do you need to accomplish? What do you want to contribute, so that you can have that feeling too, that if I died tomorrow, I did what I came to do.
And how long have you consciously been advocating for people stepping into their power and living empowered lives?
Since the 1980s. I used to give seminars on empowerment, and particularly empowering educators to be the best version of themselves so they could draw out the best in the students. But empowerment has been very, very important. And it sometimes gets weak in translation because it becomes a word that everybody thinks they know what it means, but you gloss over it. And it's really important to stop, I think, and sit with it. Do I feel empowered? Do I feel I have something to contribute? Do I know what that something is? Do I know what it looks like? Do I know how to develop it? How far do I want to go with it? When I was doing my podcast, and I've been podcasting since 2001, although they didn't call it then that, they called it internet radio, but I knew what I wanted to do, which was to help people recognize and release and recover from toxic relationships and emotional abuse. And my show was called Optimize Life Now. So on all aspects, I didn't just talk about the abuse. I talked about what it was to live an empowered life, to know what it was. And so helping people do that has been a lifelong mission because I had to learn. I always was stubborn. I always was going to do it no matter what. Always very resilient, very driven. But the why was important because it shifted from trying to make the giants who brought me home from the hospital happy to me. Why am I doing it? Not doing it to make someone else happy or get validation or approval, but why do I do it? And that's a big shift.
Huge. Absolutely huge too. That's kind of an empowered conversation. What would you say are the steps toward living an empowered life or feeling more empowered in your life?
Well, first of all, at the end of every podcast, I say, until we speak again, take very good care of yourself because you're precious and you matter. Treating yourself as though you're precious and you matter. You don't matter more than others, but you matter equally. And we need to, I think, recognize that I talk about something all the time, which are the 3 must-haves of healthy adult relationships, including the one that you have with yourself. There must be equality. There must be reciprocity, and there must be mutuality. So if you don't see yourself as an equal, start there.
Great place to start. And before we went live, you had said something very profound about that empowerment starts in your head, it comes through your head, and then what happens?
Well, first of all, you have to start thinking the thoughts we've just been discussing. And then when you do that, it will shift down and go to your heart. And your heart will open to yourself. Like, oh, I do deserve to have this life. I do have gifts to give. You don't have to find a cure for cancer to have a purpose. Your purpose may be to raise healthy, independent adults who are releasing themselves to their best life, or something very, very simple. I want to provide the safe sanctuary for my family to come home to every night. It doesn't have to be all work-oriented and glorious, but you do have to know so that when you think it through and then you begin to embody it, gets down to your heart, and then it expresses out from you at a soul level and becomes who you are. Information in my books is something that comes in your head and sits above your nose. And many people get very good at that, and then they spout it out their mouth. And so the loop is head, mouth, head, mouth. But you don't really know something until you embody it. So it goes from being above your nose down to your toes, and it becomes who you are. That's the journey we're talking about in this book.
I love that. It's the total embodiment of the passion, of the purpose, of making it known to first yourself that you matter is what I'm taking away from here today. So on a final note, why should people support this book, The Voices of the 21st Century, Women Empowered Through Passion and Purpose, from your lens?
Well, I think mostly because these women are intrepid. They're brave. They have said, I'm not afraid of exposing my journey. Maybe it'll help someone else. I'm not afraid of saying, I went from unempowered to empowered. There's a lot of imposter syndrome that goes on in the world, pretending to be all that in a bag of chips. But when you can actually say, wasn't so great before, but I actually engaged my head. I did the work, got down to my heart. I lived it, and I integrated the learning. And that's what I believe the stories in this book, varied stories, different journeys, totally different cultures, different milieus, different spiritual beliefs, different businesses. But they're all saying, it wasn't great. It got better. Here's how, and here's what it looks like in my life now. And what could be more inspiring than that?
Yes, I totally agree. So we have this book coming out in February 6th, to be exact, of 2024. Your foreword, I've already previewed, is phenomenal. So thank you so much for your contribution. And congratulations to all the women for sharing the stories. And I hope you all are looking forward to reading them in addition to the foreword, which will move us into that state of empowerment even more so than we already are. So thank you for that, Rhoberta.
Oh, you're welcome. And it was really a joy to write it. And I hope people do read it. I know how often the foreword is the least read thing in a book, but I hope you'll read it.
And it's well worth the read. So thank you again. We'll be back next week with another WSA TV episode. In the meantime, stay empowered. Take Dr. Rhoberta's advice, and we will see you next time. Thank you again.